to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future. These are my stories of choice, change and action, along with the phenomenal guests I have on here. From a really young age, I've always desired to create a change in the world. The planet has been a constant inspiration to me, and Access Consciousness has shown me the tools to know that anything is possible. And I keep choosing. What are you going to choose? Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choice, Change and Action podcast. So you've got me, your host, Simone Milasas, and then today we have the lovely, wonderful Miss Kalpana Raghuraman. Did I say that right?
You did.
I did. Okay. Yes. You have a beautiful last name, and I remember there's a few times I've mentioned you somewhere, and I'm like, oh, I need to start learning how to pronounce her last name, because so many people have got my last name wrong. Always.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it. It's very funny though. Even really good friends of mine, I'll hear them say Molasses, and I'm like, you can't even say my last name. Milasas. So anyway, welcome Kalpana to Choice, Change and Action.
Thank you for having me, Simone, and hello everybody.
So if you want, you can slip on over to YouTube, because we're on YouTube now, if you didn't know that. So you can see our beautiful faces, or you can stay here and listen on Spotify, wherever you're listening as well. But please don't forget to share this, because I love getting this out there into the world. And thank you so much, everyone, for the gratitude. I received the most random, pieces of gratitude from people all over the world. And I'm truly grateful. Like, thank you so much. And Kalpana, what I wanted to talk to Kalpana about today, and hopefully inspire everybody listening, is sort of like, I guess since I've known Kalpana and the journey of how she's chosen different things, she's recently just been added to facilitating one of the advanced classes of Access Consciousness called Choice for Possibilities. Dane here broke her virginity in Turkey, and she did a class in Istanbul, Turkey. And then I took sloppy seconds and did Bogota, Colombia.
Very yummy.
It was great. It was amazing, actually. It was so easy and so wonderful and so contributory. And then she also has a Choice for Possibilities coming up with Gary Douglas in Houston, Texas in November. And then Grace Douglas in New York in early February. So if you want to find out anything about that, there'll be a link in our notes. So make sure you subscribe to the notes. You can go to accessconsciousness.com/CFP, and all the Choice for Possibilities classes come up. But here's the piece that I admire so much in you, Kalpana, is, when we asked you if you would like to facilitate these classes, you were just like, yes. Like, there was not a doubt in your world. You are already I want to say busy person, and I don't really like that word busy, because people sort of go, oh, you've got so much on, you do so much. And then you get this thing, people go, I hope you have time to have a holiday or get time off. And I'm always like, from what? From consciousness? I'm like, I'm good. I don't need any time off, because my whole life feels like a holiday, and my whole life is I'm working, every day as well, or choosing whatever I'm choosing. So when I first, I think when I first met you, like, you came to a Joy Business class, and which you are also now a Joy Business Facilitator, and you were previously as well. But you came to a Joy Business class and you asked questions about a business that you desired to create, which you now have and is very successful. And it's your dance company. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I want you to talk about, like, what was that like for you when it was just like this idea?
Yeah, I very much remember the conversations in that specific class, Simone. And so I've always been dancing, I would say. My mother had a dance school. I was kind of raised with dance. I started to create my own work, and I would see that big dance companies. I would watch performances, and I would be like, oh, one day maybe, like all starry-eyed. It was a very far away concept that I could have it, but it was something that always appealed to me, the energy of it, what it was bringing into people's lives as a beautiful experience. And as I was, I have been, I would say, pioneering, because I create performances that are very difficult to, it's not Indian, it's not Western, it's not contemporary, it's something different. um, I was busy with how can I bring that out in the world, and what do I require for that. And the Joy of Business class showed me, first of all, that I was having a business. Because we tend to think, oh, the arts, that's the arts, right? And that's one of the categories where we don't put arts and business together. And I realized, hey, wait a minute, like you say always, when you wake up, you're in business, and what that generative energy, those ideas that you put into the world, that's your business. And I've always been busy with that energy that excites me, with bodies, with music. And so just realizing that opened up a lot for me. That just realizing, wow, this is a business, and I have capacities with that. It's not only the artistic part, but it's all the choices and the leadership and everything.
Can I just point out here for a moment, you talk about as a child watching these performances, most people would go, oh, I want to dance on stage. But you missed that step. You went to, I want to own a company that, and you create your own, like choreograph your own stuff and have a
Yeah.
performance company. And you, the way you said that, you just skipped over that. Like, that isn't that what everybody does? No, that's not what everybody chooses. But guess what? Everybody can if they choose it. And I remember
Yeah.
talking to you in that class, and you had this energy about you. This was my perception, is
Mhm,
you had this
mhm.
energy about you of like, I know this is possible. I know this is possible. But you're like, how the fuck am I going to get there? Basically, it was like looking
Exactly.
left and right, behind and in front, just going, but you kept going, what choices do I need to make? And one of the things I've seen you be really successful at is use this reality to your advantage, because you get these, I mean, as you say, you're in the arts, and so many people look at starving artist, starving musician, dancer, blah, 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 that sort of stuff. And it's almost got this like, this, I don't know, this je ne sais
Allure to
quoi
it.
about,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you're supposed to do. And you were like, no, and how am I going to get the funding for this? And if I'm not, I think I'm correct here, is you've broken some big barriers in the Netherlands with getting some funding for your performance company, correct?
Absolutely. And I still remember, because I was asking questions about how, in what ways could I bring my work out there as a company, as a business, and get the revenue streams going, and this whole story. And you told me, well, what if you break the rules? What if you set a new status quo? And you challenged me. And I still remember going, and I went game on energetically, but I also was like, oh my God, how would I do that? And then a few years down the road, I started to get funding. And that is, I really did break barriers, because they have never funded a dance company that is basically inspired by Indian dance and music, and something different, let's say, right, than Western dance. And it really opened up a lot. But it was that, hey, what if you don't have to stick to the status quo? What if you can create something completely different and still have it work for you, was the challenge you gave me. And truly, that kind of was like, yeah, why am I, because we buy into, we cannot this,
Mm.
or this is not done. For me, it was like, nobody does what I do. Instead of going, well, that's a niche, you can become an expert and an authority. I used to go into, I'm the only one, it's lonely. And then you showed me with Joy of Mistis, like, hey, wait a minute, you have these access tools, use it to your advantage. Yeah.
I love, but thank you so much. This is so brilliant. I mean, I've just taken these notes here because you're talking about breaking the status quo, and also nobody does what you do. So if you're listening to this right now and you're going, oh yeah, but that's Kalpana and that's Simone. No, but you too. It's like, what status quo can you break that you've been avoiding breaking, because you'd actually have to acknowledge your capacities.
Yeah.
And everything at that is where you destroy and uncreate it times a gazillion.
Yes.
Right,
Right,
wrong,
right.
good and bad. I don't know. Shorts, boys, poets, and beyonds. That's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. If you haven't heard it yet, that means you haven't listened to a lot of my podcasts, but it's under theclearingstatement.com and you can find out more about it. But basically, it's so much like stopping you, It's
Yeah.
like, what status quo are you trying to live by? That if you were willing to step outside of that, you would actually start to find you. And
Mm.
for me, I remember when Gary called me and he said, hey, what do you think about Kalpana for Choice for Possibilities? And And we had just facilitated a 3-day body class together.
Ah,
And you had asked me to facilitate that 3-day body class in the castle. And I was like, I went, she's so easy to co-facilitate with. My words were, she's more like a man, which is really appealing to me because she doesn't have this like girly stuff where we have to, you know, I don't know,
yeah.
share it or talk about stuff. We were just like, we're good. Yep. Okay, let's go. And
No.
like, yeah, being on the same page, heading in this direction that we both desired for others and heading that. And I was like, yeah, I think that could work, you know. And then he asked Dane, etc. And here we are today. So it's like, what future possibilities are available from you choosing to break out of the status quo? And it's
Yeah.
not just Kalpana, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, it's if you actually look at your life and go, am I choosing what it is I'd like to be choosing? Or is there something different? And one of the tools we talk about in Access Consciousness is destroying and uncreating. And I love it. So like right now, if you get everything in your life, it's like your business, money, relationships, you know, everything, where you're living, and destroy and uncreate all the decisions that you've made that this is the right choice, and allow the universe to show you a different possibility. And everything at that is times a Godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys, provids and beyond. So you can use that tool every single day and destroy and uncreate your relationship with your business, with you. Because when we create this relationship, we create these points of view that keep it stuck in this like positive and negative, like the pros and cons, the right and wrong and all of that crap, rather than, wow, what else is truly possible? So you have this dance company, a very successful dance company. First of all, where can people find information about that?
Yes, that's actually my name, Kalpana Arts, but just one A, so kalpanarts.com. We'll add it to the information.
Notes. Yep.
And yeah, so I do. So basically, when you challenged me, I started to research and ask questions and use the tools and found, you know, how that goes. You find like I found a manager who is like as crazy and wild as me, and we started to. Our first project was apply for a 4-year funding, and we didn't even know each other, but we're like, let's go. She got the energy of what I wanted to create, and she's like, I don't even know you, but I get so happy and excited. Let's go, and we literally just went for it because why not? Which is also a really cool tool. Like, hey, why not? This excites me. Let's go for it, and we'll get a lot of awarenesses, you know, if we get the money or not. And we got the money. And so it's been an exploration, and the access tools and the joy of business tools have helped me all the way. Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that she was happy and excited as well. Like, what if you started looking at your life and the people you surround yourself by, not just in business, but in life, do they make you happy and excited? Like, do you get enthused? Do you have this joy when you see them? Or do you have this like, oh, and it's like, you literally do not have to have anyone in your life that you don't desire to, including family. Okay. And it's like, it's your choice. And, you know, the class that I've been mentioning that we both facilitate, Choice for Possibilities, and Gary Douglas and Dane here and Grace Douglas, is about that. It's like Choice for Possibilities. I love the name of it. Gary changed it recently, and it's so true to the class, is you have a choice. What are you going to choose? And even looking at that energy of going, wow, this is like, this makes me happy. Okay, let's follow that. Let's follow that energy of happy and excited and see what shows up. And it is that willingness to stumble and fall and go, oh, okay, graze my knee, but, you know, I can either cry about it or get back up and, you know, move on and choose something different.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, totally.
So what has this also been like for you with entering into facilitating Choice for Possibilities classes? What choices did you have to make? What choices did you have to change anything, or what did you have to acknowledge with?
Well, that one. I remember when you guys asked me, I just sat there going, kind of like, of course. Like, there was somebody asked me, did you have to think about it? I was like, oh my God, that was such a no-brainer. It just matched, like it just went click, click. And it wasn't something that I was expecting or anything like that. I was curious what we're, you know, but I was like, oh, okay, yeah, hell yeah. And that.
So we took her out to lunch in Rome, and it's to this restaurant that we go to that has a table out the back. So it's like private dining. We love it just because there's no people around and we can whatever. And it's like, so that's where we took it. So and you haven't been there before. So if you do take someone in this room, it's got curtains in there and everything. It looks very mafia type energy, but they're like back room. Yeah.
Exactly. We have a question for you. But it
Yeah.
opened up this yes, literally opened up
Wow.
this huge, it just went,
Wow. I got that energy. It opened up a yes in your world.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I just got my bars run, Access Bars. If you don't know it, check it out. And that person that gave me bars is also a certified facilitator. And I was telling him since that moment, it's been really receiving a lot of energy, like receiving access consciousness more, receiving Gary and Dane and you, Simone, and everybody, like really receiving this choice in a very energetic way. And literally I would say the first 3 weeks, I would literally have waves of, whoa, I just need to lie down. There's a lot of, like literal energetic reconstruction happening in my world, I would say. And it just everything was and has been so light and expanding. It was like, okay, let's lie down, kind of a thing, like, oh, and let's like allowing it and going with that flow, receiving.
Let's talk about that for a second though, because what I noticed, Kalpana, over the years of facilitating, in classes and private sessions is a lot of people don't choose something because they're not willing to receive the energy that comes with it. They're not willing to receive what comes with it. So, I mean, as an example, it's like someone would rather be in a bad relationship than actually choose, because it's a choice, to leave the relationship and allow yourself that space and find out what next. There's so many things that come up in people's world. Some people don't want to be alone. It's like, or some people think that they won't find somebody else or whatever. And it's like, because I think so many people have a different point of view about relationship as well. Some have this place where they actually work well with a relationship, and others it's not so much. It's like it's a different situation. And I think in relationship, you need to also explore what works for you. In business, you need to explore what works for you. So with, as you say, like these energetic, all these different energies that were available and also being directed at you, without making this like dismal, I actually want to touch on, it's not all rainbows and unicorns,
Definitely.
It's like when you actually choose something and you step up and you choose something different, there's a lot that comes with that. Like I'm going to refer to Brene Brown, and in one of her, I think it was her TED talk and on vulnerability. And she talks about this like scenario. She said, when you're on stage, she said, you receive all of these, different judgments, etc. But how many people don't choose to be on stage? And the stage could be anything. The stage could be you leaving a relationship. The stage could be choosing a business that nobody else has chosen before, like a dance company, and asking for 4-year funding and going, how the fuck are we going to do that? It could be anything, right? That stage is you reaching out to be greater and to be more. But one of the things she makes a comment about is you are going to receive judgment. She's not saying if, you will receive judgment. She says, but what I want you to have a look at is who's judging you. Oh yeah, the people sitting in the grandstand that aren't choosing anything.
Yeah.
And for me, that helped a lot, because as I choose more, there's so much that comes with it. There's people who are immensely grateful.
Yeah.
And then there's people who are incredibly unkind. And not to make either of those energies significant, to receive it all and go, not make it relevant, So I'm wondering if you can touch on that and any tools or questions that you've asked and what that's been like for you as well. Because I see you not stopping. And that's one of the things that I very much admire about you, Kalpana.
Thanks, Simone. Yeah, I've been saying that this CFP, addition to my life is like a lot of things in my life have prepared me for it. And one of them
The
is,
CFP is choice
sorry,
for possibilities, just in case everybody doesn't, because I know I have a lot of listeners who don't go and do access classes. And the one thing about access is we're like Aussies, we shorten friggin' everything. We have an acronym for everything. So CFP is Choice for Possibilities, is the class that Kalpana is referring to. Sorry,
Thanks,
go
Simone.
on.
No, that's good to have it clarified. So when I got asked and invited to facilitate that class, what I realized was there's a lot of things that I have experienced or chosen in my life that in a way somehow prepared me for it. Because one thing you learn when you're in the art scene is judgments. People are really into judgments, and I would say, have had good training to receive judgments. And my mom would always tell me, be like a lotus. A lotus is on the water, but it doesn't sink in the water. It will always float. And it's something she told me when I was very young, because she was dealing with also all kinds of judgment. She was a dance teacher, and all the parents and the kids and the performances and blah, blah, blah. And that is one thing that I've always kept close to my heart. Like, okay, you want to judge me, judge me. I'm not going to let myself get drowned by that. It's a big one, and definitely will tell you this doesn't. Sometimes you're just like, meh, it's hard. You get a national newspaper review, and they totally tell everybody that your performance was terrible, or people come up to you and they're mean and all that stuff. And some moments you're just like, oh man, it's hard. And I started to see that, like you just said, people can love it, people can hate it, but it's just a perspective. It doesn't mean anything. And I would say the reviews are the best thing I learned. And I remember telling the dancers, we're going to get a review, and you're going to notice that it might upset you. But if you start to see that this is just one person's perspective, it doesn't really matter. And I remember there was one show when we got a really good review and a really bad review. And I told them, it's the same piece. Who's right and who's wrong here? It's just a perspective. And that has helped me a lot with these new energies. And when sometimes it's like, wow, somebody comes to you with an interesting energy and you don't know what to do with it. Oh, it's just that person. It's not about me. Has helped me a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that. I love that. And can I say I love the reference to the lotus flower, because you have this like beauty and this grace about you that actually reminds me of a big, beautiful lotus flower floating. So I think you really did embody that when your mother told you that. So I love it. It's beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Not just
and
a
I
lotus flower. You're more than a lotus flower.
also thank you, Simone. And it's really is that. And I think it's not personal, and the not stopping, like, kind of also, I've also had this energy sometimes, like, okay, I can let that stop me, or I could use that as fuel to keep going. And that's another tool that you might have a moment that you're like, dude, this is hard, and you're like, okay, it's hard, and is this where I want to sit, or if do I want to go forward? Hell, I want to go forward.
Yeah. And I want to add to, like, as Kalpana is talking about this, it's not from this resistance, it's just from choice. You get to choose. You choose you. People go, you do you, I do me. You choose you, I choose me. And I actually saw this meme the other day and I thought it was great. This guy said, if you have a problem with me, like, contact me, text me. But if you don't have my number, you don't deserve to have a problem with me. Like, how can you have a problem with me? And I think it's interesting because over the years, I've noticed how many people who would judge me, but they've never spoken to me. Wow. And then maybe when they meet me, like, and then they're like, wow, you're not as scary as I thought you were, or you're not this. And then people will always create this perspective of you when you are choosing something different and when you are choosing something greater. And when you have more happy in your world than they do or than others, people start to look at, well, they try and cut you down. And I was just having a conversation with someone the other day. My book, Joy Business, which is translated into many different languages, and it's been redone in Arabic at the moment. And it was interesting that one of the translators said, can you tell me what the tall puppy syndrome is? And I laughed and I said, it's not tall puppy, like as in dog, it's tall poppy. And they said, what is that? And I went, God, this is insane. But I grew up with it. In Australia and New Zealand, we have something called the tall poppy syndrome. And the whole idea of tall poppy is if you create success and if you have more than others and you do it with so much ease and quicker, and there's no stress and there's no anything, then they will cut you down. Now, if you have success, but you've shown that you've done a lot of hard work and you've had some struggles, then everyone gives you a little applause and says, well done. And as I'm explaining it to these translators, I was like, my God, this is a level of insanity and cruelty and unkindness that you just grow up with in Australia and New Zealand. And every
Yeah.
country and every culture has their own shitty, like, ridicules that they
Version.
do on people to stop them. And it's like, wow. So I'm going
Yeah.
to give you a tool here, if you're listening, that I would highly recommend using, because a lot of this is about projections of you. Okay. And some people will verbalize a projection. Some people can just do it with a look in their eyes. But what I want you to do, if you're choosing something, it's like, stop looking for other people around you to validate you. What if you could acknowledge you? So everywhere that so even just ask today, what would it take for me to acknowledge my capacities today and move forward with ease, joy, and glory? And everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. And here's the one that I love is, you can use this and just say POC and POD, which is short for the clearing statement, point of creation, point of destruction, all the energetic projections and judgments that have been put upon me. Because people will think something, or they'll energetically throw something at you. They're not saying it, but they energetically throw it at you, and you're like, and then you start going, oh, I can't do this, I have doubt. No, it's not yours. It's just all the bullshit people around you. So all the energetic projections and judgments that people have of you, where you destroy and uncreate that.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, provids, and beyonds. Wow. So Kalpana, is there any other tools or questions that you would add to this, with people being willing to step out of the status quo and literally choose them?
It's really this energy of, also, I think it's connected to all the things you just mentioned, with choosing ease where it's supposed to be difficult. And it's like, actually, I'm going to just relate it to myself right now, because this fall is quite busy because we're preparing a new production that goes into premiere next month. So rehearsing every day, creating all the PR material and booklets and blah blah blah, but also writing our next 4-year plan that we have to hand in January, and preparing our next year's tour, and then in between going to Houston for a Choice for Possibilities class with Mr. Gary Douglas. And I was like, I can get into this crazy normalcy of, oh my God, it's so busy and I have to manage and I don't know how to do it. Or I can just choose for this to be my way and easy. And I literally have been very present with this the last few days. And today, one of my dancers came to me and he said, "You're so calm since I saw you since the summer break yesterday." And he said, "You're always calm because you have that, but there's a very deep sense of something different, of space with
Yeah.
you." And I was like, wow. And I said, well, and I explained what I chose. And he said, I was looking at the schedule and I would have started to get nervous about my dance material and remembering everything. But then I'm seeing you and I'm like, we got this. We're going to be fine. And it was, for me, it was such a testament of, if you choose it, the energy around you changes, and people can choose that too if they like to.
And that's so beautiful. And I want to comment on that too, because as a lot of people add things to their life, which, most people would have said, wow, you're adding, I mean, this is a whole other career sort of thing, you could say. And
Definitely.
you're not just facilitating Choice for Possibilities, you're facilitating, bars, foundation, joy business, relationship done different, right voice, I think. Like, there's a whole lot that you're involved in. And I want to comment is, you never have the energy about you where you are unavailable.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people do this thing of going, no, I'm not available because you have too much on, rather than, what if you made yourself available? Because as you make yourself available, you get to receive more. You get to receive the contribution that the universe is so willing to give to us,
Yeah.
and the people around us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for that, because you
Wow.
never appear unavailable to me, which
Oh,
is a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
awesome. And I also would say, if something excites you, that's enough. Like, you can do it. Like, literally, that, like, the fact that that excites you, and right now you might not know the way, that is enough for you to go and ask questions and use the tools and find your way, explore.
And I would add to that too, if it makes you happy. My I had over the years different companies and different things, etc. the company that I run everything through now is called Whatever Makes You Happy, because
Wow.
that's what I wanted to choose. Whatever makes you happy. I will choose whatever makes me happy. And for me, that's that excitement too, because when I choose what makes me happy, everything explodes. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Wow. So
So,
cool.
Kalpana, I could talk to you all day, but I am going to finish this podcast off here. And I want to thank you so much. We will have in the show notes everywhere that you can find Kalpana and her Instagram and, you know, all of her social media stuff, etc. So please, as I said, subscribe to the notes and you can find that and maybe catch one of her shows or head off to Choice for Possibilities in Houston. It's also online with Gary Douglas, who is the founder of Access Consciousness as well. And Kalpana, is there anything else that you would like to add or say or leave the listeners with?
Maybe this question, like, what can you choose today that you haven't considered you could choose today or ever?
Beautiful. Love it. Cool. Thank you so much for you. I am so grateful that you are on this planet.
Thanks,
And I
Simone.
will see you guys next time. Don't forget to follow us on Choice, Change and Action Instagram. It has its own Instagram. I've got mine, but you can also follow us on that. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.